All right. Hopefully, you are doing well. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I was traveling, helping out some family members in Southern California. So welcome back to our Day Trading Live pre-market stream. We do this every Monday through Thursday for our Trading Masterclass course members. And on Tuesday, we come live to do it on YouTube with y'all. So we're going to take a look at what stocks we want to be day trading for the day. And we're going to be looking at markets overnight. Hello to you, Ayanda. Good to see you. And so we're going to be looking at that. We're also going to be kind of examining option position going on right now. So option position is something that I pay attention to every single day as part of my pre-market scanners in terms of looking at where our options position basically to get an idea in sentiment and flow. So we're going to be taking a look at that. We do have some movers this morning. We have some pretty interesting movers, but let's start with SPX. So basically right now, SPX is very choppy. It's in an expanding volatility cone. So this is what I have no idea what that's all about. That seems like a trading view thing. But basically we got this expanding volatility cone right now. And while that structure is still in play, it's going to be very hard to trade because the strikes keep moving. You know, the tops and the bottoms keep moving, and they're not necessarily lining up with prior levels. So this is probably, in some sense, I wouldn't be surprised if trading volume goes down today, because when you get kind of this choppiness, people feel a little bit indecisive about how to position themselves, and SPX being a major, index for positioning, that I can see people probably being a little flustered by this and wanting to just kind of step aside and let this thing play itself out. So I'm expecting, SPX to kind of stay range bound, plus or minus 2% on the day, with the key strike being 3,700, not just from a technical perspective, but looking at option positioning, there's a fair amount of put strikes that have 3,700 as their target. So that's going to be interesting. Also, we did notice that there was some increase in positioning on puts overnight. There's about 10,000 more puts added overnight to the SPX. So there's a slight increase in bearish bets on the SPX. So I'm expecting that to kind of have some downside pressure on this, but I think SPX today is going to stay range bound. I think the real volatility is going to be in Qs, NASDAQ, tech. So tech has been incredibly volatile as of late, and it's been the big seller. Even though the overall markets have been down, tech has been down the worst. And there's been a massive unwinding in tech, which we wrote about in our newsletter on this Sunday. And so for me, I think the real volatility is going to all be in tech. I think if Qs can make it above 310, then that could really lift a fair amount of, technical pressure on it. But I think if it gets below 299, then we have potential to go down much further, because most of the options concentration is around the 290 level, which is right about here. So there's a fair amount of contracts on Qs right now. And there's definitely been a huge increase in negative gamma and puts on Qs. Also, we have a lot of options expiring on OPEX for the 19th, next Friday. So I think things will be volatile this week in Qs, and I think we could see that going into OPEX next week. And then after that, I think we're going to see probably some reduced volatility in Qs. But for now, downside pressure remains. So I'll set an alert just in case it happens to clips 310, and then also to the downside 296. But this is where I think you're going to see the most volatility is in tech for right now. So we're going to be watching that pretty aggressively. Okay, Bitcoin. Let's check in with Bitcoin, and then let's look at some of the top movers for the day. Bitcoin continues to get stronger. It's cleared out most of the technical hurdles that I felt it needed to clear out. So short term, I'm bullish on Bitcoin right now. Some of the main ones, it needed to stabilize above the weekly view up, and it has been doing it. It's been gaining separation from that. When I look back upon, the main area that I wanted it to clear, it was this area right here. I wanted it to clear 5250. This had, on the sell-off, this had produced a lower low. Then we came back and tested it again, and we produced a mild a slightly higher low. And so it was kind of building for that. And once it cleared this, then I feel like it's released some of the short-term technical pressure. Anybody who's short here has gotten stopped out at this point. So I feel like it's giving itself now license to reattack the prior all-time highs. And so, but, you know, it's not as smooth as, let's see, was it the 4 hour? Like the last corrective pullback, you know, there was continually dips being bought, dips being bought, dips being bought, dips being bought. This one, there wasn't. You know, we had a sell-off that eclipsed the prior lows. And then it just kind of the next week it opened and then closed higher. So it wasn't like there was dip, 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 and then rally. You know, it was a really sharp sell-off, flush out a lot of people, and then slowly build since then. And this week it's treated the monthly VWAP as support. So I feel like at this point, Bitcoin now is going to want to retag the prior all-time highs. And now you just have a wide range until we can see pressure build out of this. So this is where I see Bitcoin, you know, kind of floating between the 52 and 57, 58 areas. But right now, I feel like it's probably going to want to tag this. If it can build higher lows instead of like coming back down here, if it can build a higher low, you know, somewhere around here or something like that, and then reattack and build a higher low and continue, then we're building up for a breakout. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on Bitcoin at this point. Yes, Wallball. Are you talking about methods from inside our course in a publicly streamed chat? Is that what you're doing, Wallball? I'm just curious what your intention is to be talking about strategies that we talk about inside our courses in a publicly thing. Seems kind of unfair to members. But morning to you. Razwan says, it's been a long time since I joined a live trading session. It's good to have you here, Razwan. So good to have you back. Okay, so we've covered Bitcoin. Bitcoin stocks don't seem to be quite moving up with that. So I'm kind of holding off on Bitcoin stocks. I feel like right now you want to be trading Bitcoin directly if you can. Okay, so look at some of our top movers. Big one on the day, biggest volume mover on the day, which is pretty much at its daily volume, is ICE. And it had, if I'm correct, had a positive news catalyst on, maybe it did. Let's see here. ICE followed by, yeah, and FDA, there was a note from the FDA. Let's see here. California makes about a market of implantable visual prosthetics. Could be interesting. Could we get a Borg eye? That would be interesting. Said on Friday that the United States FDA has approved its Argus 2S retinal prosthesis system. This is used in treatment for retinitis, which is an inflammatory condition. Pigmentosa, interesting. Is we have glasses and a video processing unit to use in combination to companies previously implanted Argus 2 system. The Borg are coming. We are very pleased to have received this approval. So, okay, yeah, so it's positive news catalyst. And that was on what day? Yesterday. So there's a potential second day play here or second day fade, depending upon how well this holds up. But where would I want to get long? I definitely want to get long in a pullback. As you can see, this has been ripping, pullback, ripping, pulling back, and it keeps coming back to value around the weekly VWAP. So I'll set an alert for 1487 and then also the weekly VWAP, which is going to, this weekly VWAP is going to trail up once the session opens. So I'll set it just above current price and then at this point right here and see if we get a pullback, then watch time and sales, watch the order flow on the dome, and then see if it starts to pick up around those levels. And if I see the print start to speed up and I see things come strong on the bid, then I'll look to potentially get long on this one here. So, but yeah, this has potential. It's got a really good positive news catalyst. Where are some of these pullback levels on the weekly? Because this is let's mark the pre-market highs, 2612. It's huge. Okay, that's actually a pretty good level. You got a pretty good level because of those. And right now it's 1967. Yeah, it may find some support at 1750, but 15, if it can get down here, I'd rather buy in a much bigger dip. This is a pretty good rip. These last 2 weeks have eaten up years, almost 2 years worth of price action. And so, yeah, this is interesting. So, okay. All right. I feel like we got our levels on this one here. So I feel like I got a pretty good idea of how this thing's going to play itself out. Let's see here. Tom, did we cover gold already? We have not covered gold. We can cover that in the open Q&As at the end there. So you know the rule, Tom. Instrument, or give me the symbol, time frame, 1 cent subscription, bullish or bearish. It's all good. It's all good, wall ball. It's an honest mistake. No worries, man. Joksan, good morning to you. Good to see you. Lewis is saying resistance is futile. I know. I want to start getting like sound effects in this thing here. So that's why we're switching to a new streaming service. So hopefully we can get that. Really, it's going to take time to learn it because it's a totally different service. We'll keep Zoom for our webinars, but for streaming on YouTube, I find it insufficient. Plus, they plaster this big freaking Zoom logo here. Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. Morning to you, Stefano. Okay, so we've covered eyes. I definitely want to keep this on the list. Being the top volume mover, it's already hit its average daily volume. And so, you know, this is potentially what we call a second day play. So we'll have to see if it can hold. Otherwise, if it fades, that would be a big fade. That would be a very big fade. But we'll keep this one as well. ANPC also had some positive news catalyst. Granted EU patent titled micro devices for improved disease detection. Are they going to be implanting something in you to help detect diseases? That would be interesting. This is like all Borg. This is like all Borg technology. Yeah. So interesting. Okay. So looking at this one, let's mark pre-market highs and let's check in on the weekly and see where the resistance is on the weekly. So it's the pre-market highs is above the all-time high. Okay, that's interesting. I'm not seeing any volume buildup in this though. Like there's no volume buildup, which tells me a lot of institutional investors are not paying a whole lot of attention to this. Because if it was something, then we would see a volume buildup. Maybe this is just the first time they're ever hearing about it and they're potentially considering it. But yeah, that's questionable. That leaves me pause. So this might be get in, get out quick today and then move on. Move on. Like, don't plan on holding this for a massive position. But looking at let's see here. Okay. All right, this is interesting. So I'll open up the 1 hour real quick. So I marked an alert here, which is like 9.25. And then when I go back to that, it's the base of this kind of pullback on the day, the base of this corrective structure. So what we have an impulsive move with kind of a two-legged fade and is holding at the 20 right now, but it's below the weekly VWAP. So it's kind of sandwiched. It's going to need to clear out weekly VWAP to add some short-term momentum longs on the day, potentially pre-market. So we're going to want this to build above this here. If it continues to find pressure and the weekly VWAP as resistance, then I suspect it's probably going to fade. It's going to test this 9. And then if it breaks below that, then you're talking a move down to 8. So we're going to want to see this build a little bit. It's wanting to build, but it's not there yet. So yeah, and if it breaks 10.50, then you got 11 and potentially a room for 12. So there is some potential upside in this one here, but I'd like to see this one build. I don't like the fact that it keeps getting hemmed in by the VWAP right now. So that leaves me pause. And the structure of the corrective structure is in the middle of this impulsive move. Yeah, this is the middle of that. That's my least favorite scenario. What you want is you want this corrective structure to be at the top. And you want to be thin if possible. Those are the best. Those are the better setups. This is slightly weaker, so it may just be a rip and then fade from here on out. But we'll see how this builds out throughout the session. So, all right, INVO was another one. I think they had a positive news catalyst. Stock rallies after amended agreement expands company-owned clinics in the U.S. Finds an increase in the number of INVO company-owned clinics initially allowable under the agreement, removes certain geographical restrictions. INVOcell is a medical device used in infertility treatment and is considered an assisted reproductive technology. Okay. That's big business right now. That is big business. Like, you know, if you have some friends or something like that that are like into like, you know, in vitro fertilization or, you know, selling eggs or anything like that whole business is quite expensive. You know, it's kind of shocking what some people pay for that. For extreme collaboration, and also just the remaining annual 22 million contract. Okay. Okay. So decent positive news catalyst, nothing gangster, but decent. Basically just saying, hey, we are able to expand the amount of facilities that we have throughout the US. So, okay, that's decent. What's the pre-market volume? 4.9 million and average is 160K. Okay, so that's way above the average. So let's take a look at this here. Let's mark pre-market highs, which is one of the first things I like to do. And then I like to check in on the weekly and just see where is that positioned on the weekly. That's not the weekly, that's the 5-minute. This is a really messy chart. Huh. Yeah, that's why volume matters. Like 160K, there's just not enough volume. It's a low volume stock. So pre-market highs is right here. It's a decent level. It's decent. It's not great, but it's decent. There is a buildup of volume though. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. When does that start? Okay, late last year. So this thing started to get some attention late last year. It went nowhere for a while. That's weird. Yeah, why did it go nowhere? That is a little weird. That it got a buildup in volume, but it went absolutely nowhere. That like this right here doesn't totally square with the rest of this. And I don't see anywhere else. Okay, I do have some questions. Pre-market high is here, and here's pre-market right now. Yeah, I almost feel like I'd want it to clear the pre-market highs because then it would open up a little more topside. Because inside here is kind of a mess. Let's take a look at the 5-minute and just see what's going on there. It's not bad. It's not great. I mean, it's a pretty big fade. You rip from 3 to 7, so you basically double in price, and then you've lost of the $4 that you've gained, you've already lost about $1.50. Yeah, I feel like I need this to build a little bit. Yeah, after double tapping here. So here we're building rip in this is after session, this is pre-market. Dips are bought to the 20 EMA, but now it's treating the 20 EMA and VWAP as resistance, which is not good. And you got an impulsive corrective structure here. So yeah, short term, I'm not crazy about this one here. It's also, yeah, it's floating. Like this is the move. And then here we are right now. You know, we're inside that. And again, that's less favorable. So I'm going to want this to clear VWAP before I'd even consider adding positions. I'll put an alert for the base here around 477, 476. But short term, I mean, it is building, but yeah, impulsive corrective. So I think if we start to see some impulsive selling and clips of this, then it's going to start to head much lower. So I feel like I want this to clear VWAP. So I'll put an alert just above VWAP. And then we'll consider that. But I'm leaning towards downside pressure right now. That's where I'm leaning. Yeah, especially if this like 5 minutes starts to drip down into here, 527 and below, then it's going to attack 5 and try and take that out, make me lose. You know, go towards this right over here. So kind of less favorite, but we'll keep it out there. I'm going to share with you a couple plays that I'm in. We've been long KBH for a little bit. This is part of our portfolio plays. We feel that KBH. So if you are paying attention to what's going on in the U.S., the housing market is booming outside of cities. Commercial real estate is like getting crushed. Cities are getting crushed, but people are leaving cities and they're going to suburbs and more rural areas. And so certain home building companies are doing very, very well, KBH being one of them. So we initiated a long position way back at like 41 something. And it's been building. It built over the last session pretty nicely, 42 all the way up to a high of 44. And now pre-market is at 44. So I'm liking this one right here. I would like to see it get to 45 before I consider taking some profit. But I feel like if it dips back to kind of right around here, if we dip back to low 42s, I would consider, and it does so correctively, I would consider adding to my position. But overall, I'm liking this one right now. My target is 45. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I think at 45, I'd probably take the majority of the position off the board. But that's one we're in right now. And then BJ is another one. So as tech has been getting volatile over the last few weeks, like as you saw that, there you go. Let's go to the weekly on tech. As tech has been getting hammered, and that's where a lot of the volatility is. And that was where a lot of the leverage was. So usually when you see sharp sell-offs, this is an important thing to note. Usually sharp sell-offs are when people are heavily levered. And what do I mean by leverage? You have your normal leverage on your account. So let's say you're trading a margin account and you get 4-to-1. Okay, fine. That's your leverage. So if I trade Qs or whatever, that's my leverage. But as you build a position size in a particular stock or ETF or whatever index, your position is becoming more levered. That means that because you're increasing position size, every 1 point dip means more than it did if you had a smaller position size. And people were pretty levered up in tech. And so this combined with ARK selling off, which we profited from pretty nicely by selling a bear put spread on last week. So, combine that in tech, and tech was heavily levered, heavily positioned, and it's causing a big sell-off. So with that being said, there's been a shift away from tech to value. Value was kind of underappreciated for a while. It was really all about growth and tech and Momo. And now you're seeing over the last few weeks, as this sell-off has been happening, you're seeing a shift from the tech growth Momo to value. And so that's why we started to shift some of our portfolio into things like KBH and BJ, which are more value type stocks. Banks are also something that's doing really, really good right now. So we're considering a move into banks right now. But looking at the BJ position, we bought off the lows here. We felt like this corrective structure was probably going to hold, even though we did have, this spike here and then a sharp sell-off. We felt like this dip around 38 was going to hold. So we got long, and it's kind of a similar play. I'm looking for like a 44, 45 target. Go figure, it's almost the same price as KBH. BJ is not necessarily like a massive mover. Every now and then it does have some rips, but it's, since this rip off the lows, it's kind of gone sideways for a while. So this pressure I don't see it changing right now. I haven't seen pressure build to one side or the other massively. So I'm expecting this to stay in here. So I might, on top of my position, like once I take profit towards the upper end of this range, I might start doing neutral plays, maybe butterflies, do like an iron butterfly or an iron condor or something like that. Because for right now, I don't see this totally, breaking this yet. If I see the structure inside here change, then I'll probably shift to a less delta neutral type approach. Okay, so that's pretty much what we wanted to cover. That's like a pre-breakout. Which one were you talking about, Motion? Wallball is saying, is it Stream Deck? We're looking at Streamlabs. That's what we're looking at. BioCoast VN. So if you want us to look at an instrument, you got to give us three things: instrument, time frame, 1 cent subscription, bullish or bearish. So if you want to do an open call out, that's what we'll do. That's how we do. That's how we roll. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at my notes here to see if there's anything else I want to cover. Yeah, I think I've covered it. The most negative gamma right now is in Qs. Of all the indices, it's in Qs right now. So you should expect higher volatility. And I'm not seeing gamma flip positive for quite a while in Qs. So for me, once we break below 300, 200 is the main 290 is the next major strike, because that's where we're seeing a lot of puts lined up. And gamma was increased pretty significant. Like a gamma increased from the negative gamma increased almost 25%. So it's quite a change in gamma, in notional gamma on Qs. Okay, so Biocos, if you give me the instrument time frame, once inscription, bullish or bearish, I will take a look. How are we doing on time? 6:28, 2 minutes of the market bell. Rapid fire. If you have instruments you want me to look at, let's do it now. Now's the time before we wrap this up, because we got to go to live trading with our live trading members in the TTM. So let me know what you want to, let's see here. SINT weekly ranging. I don't know this one. Syntex Technologies. What are you? Medical specialties. Interesting. Definitely ranging. No real volume buildup. That was a bad. Yeah. Are you thinking you want to initiate a long position? Like you're thinking, hey, it's cheap? Is that what you're thinking? Is there any positive news catalyst? Like, what is Syntex Health Technology? Yeah, what are you thinking on this one here? Because I'm not really seeing any volume buildup. It's kind of inside air. Like, if you really wanted to initiate a cheap long, that's a possibility. But I personally would want it to break a little bit and see a big volume surge. Just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of activity in here. I mean, maybe you can take a long inside here and hold it for a couple weeks to get to the top, but it seems like a long wait just for a $1.50 move. So, yeah, let me know what you're thinking on that one. Let me move to some of these others while they're moving on. D physical gold euro. What's the symbol on that one, Tom? So give me the symbol if you can. Always give me the symbol on that. Like give me the exact symbol, not just the name. I'm waiting for a breakout to the upside. Okay, yeah, I think that's probably that's the play I'd be looking at right now. All right, well, while you're getting me the symbol on that, Tom, let's look at CCIV, Churchill Capital Corp. This thing's just been crazy lately. Are you long CCIV, Robert? You got to pick a time frame, by the way. So give me a time frame, Robert. Time frame, once inscription, bullish or bearish. I'll take a look at this thing. Man, this thing is just totally flipped lately. I mean, that's a rip and a serious fade. That is a serious fade. It's like a 66% fade. Okay, XAD1. We'll go to that and then Robert, when you give me the more info on CCIV1. XAD1. Okay, cool. Didn't know this one. Yeah, I'm not ready to get long gold yet. I'm still not sold on gold. I am not sold on gold yet. I still see downside pressure. It seems like there's just less interest in gold. It seems like most of the interest is shifting more towards Bitcoin right now. So yeah, I'm thinking like 104 would be 104, 105 would be the earliest, maybe 98.55 because of this. That's not bad. Maybe something like that. But it's still a lot of downside pressure. You're still in a downward sloping channel, and I see nothing that's really indicated that this is going to break. You might get a lift towards the top of the channel, but keep in mind, since the channel is down, if you buy it with the channel sloping down, that means the channel is sloping into your risk. Your risk is your stop loss. So I generally don't like to buy dips off of downward sloping channels, because that means I'm trading against the structure is trading against my risk. And that's not what I like to do on this one here. So I would prefer fading the top if we can get there. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything yet. that suggests to me that this thing is bottomed yet. It just seems like there's just a lot less interest in gold these days. Okay, how we doing? Market's open 2 minutes. Okay, so I got to move over soon. Yes, underwater long 4 hour. Robert, okay, so you're underwater on CCIV. Where are you underwater at? That's the first thing. The second thing is, are you using options to neutralize risk? Because if you're long a stock and you want to keep holding it, then you should be selling options to neutralize some of that risk. You should be selling cover calls, in my opinion. I'd want to be looking at, maybe potentially buying put protection if the IV is cheap. At least I don't think now, but yeah. So depending upon where you're long, if you're in this upper range, I mean, are you just holding because you don't want to take a loss? If you're long in this range here, I couldn't take that big a loss. That's just, that's a $27 loss. That's huge. And this has to recapture all that just to get back to break even. So if you were long here and you've been selling a boatload of options along the way, and you've been able to neutralize maybe half of your risk, then I think there is potential for that, because you've reduced your risk in half. And if you really are just like super uber confident on CCIV that it's going to be higher at some point above these prior highs, then maybe you can continue selling options until it comes all the way back up. And hopefully by the time it comes back up, you can neutralize all the risk. But that's potentially a long way to tie up your capital. I see nothing right now that is telling me that this thing is going to reverse. There's a mild transition happening here, but again, now it's holding at VWAP. So, I don't know where you got long at. I don't know if you had a stop loss in this or not, but it seems like this would be the kind of thing that you just have to cut for a loss. Hopefully you've been able to neutralize the risk, free up your capital, and use it towards things that are going to perform. If your capital is underperforming for a while and you're not making any money off that via options, you need to get out and use your capital. It's in another way. This is just how I would approach it. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. But I see nothing right now. I just don't see anything that's saying that this is going to turn yet. We are coming into support areas here, but even then, it could sit sideways for a while. This is a massive rip, 8 to 60. Yeah. You have option position only? Were you long calls? I'm curious. Yeah, now you have me curious. So what would you be underwater? You'd either be a bull put spread, but then you'd have defined risk. Yeah, I'm guessing you were probably long calls. If I had to guess, if I had to speculate, were you long calls on this one here? Like what, or did you have a iron condor or iron butterfly? I'm just trying to think of what position you'd have that you'd be underwater. Do I secure all stock positions with covered calls? If I am going to swing trade, yes. Yes, if I'm going to swing trade, I will trade options on every single stock play I can. Yes. Robert says long calls, yes, average down. Okay, so averaging down, it's super important that you pay attention to averaging down. Why do I say this? A lot of people, and I mean a lot of YouTube traders, talk about averaging down. However, I did work on Wall Street. I've been trading for 2 decades. I can tell you that the whole concept of averaging down, you need to know the history of that. Super important. So the history of dollar cost averaging, which led to averaging down, came from Chinese chop shops. This is like, 80 plus years ago, 100 plus years ago, early days of Wall Street trading, chop shops, brokerage houses, things like that. And these houses generated their revenue from trading activity. And there would be people that be long stocks, and the stocks would start getting hammered. And the guys would yell out, dollar cost average, dollar cost average. I'm sorry if I'm not trying to make fun of a culture by using an accent, but so that's what they would yell out. And they were trying to get people to continue trading in the stock because they felt like if they exited the stock, they wouldn't be trading in it. They wouldn't make any money. And so they came up with this concept of like dollar cost average. And while it is a concept, it's, if you understand the history, the whole point of why that was created was to get people to keep trading and to not cut their risk or not reduce their position or not neutralize their position. Like if you're long and then you're wrong, you need to have a point where you say, hey, I'm just wrong and I'm out. If you keep averaging down, there are people that average down in Bear Stearns all the way down to the bottom. There are people that average down in Lehman Brothers all the way down to the bottom. There are people that average down in Nokia all the way down to the bottom. Like you gotta be mindful of that. Where you put your capital and where you position it should be on things that are performing. If they're not performing and you can't neutralize risk, don't average down. When doubt, do not average down as much as possible. That is a rookie mistake. It's just anybody who's telling you to average down or I'm going to average down, things like that. It's a very inexperienced trader. That's the problem with all these YouTube traders these days. Okay. I feel like, I got to get to live trading right now. So we're 9 minutes into the open. So I got to get to live trading right now. So I'm going to switch over to live trading with the Trading Masterclass members, but I'm back. No changes in my schedule for a while. So we'll be here every Tuesday. And for Trading Masterclass members, Monday through Thursday, we're doing our live pre-market streams. So I hope to see you in the Trading Masterclass soon and do some live trading with me. And other than that, good luck trading. And let's go make some money. We have our things. We're looking at ANPC. ICE is down, so we're going to probably pass on that. This is starting to build now. It's trying to build above V up, and it's holding 20 MA, so it's got potential. So we got that. We got INVO, which is now looking good. My KBH position is pretty close to my target. So we got some plays on this. Keep your eyes on Qs where the volatility is going to be. So good luck trading, everybody. I'm going to switch to live trading with Trading Masterclass, and I will see you guys next.